Hi, I'm Colin, and thank you for joining me for this little chat as we talk about making a fermentation chamber like the setup you see behind me. As many of you may know, I'm on the journey to making all the equipment necessary for me to be able to ferment soy sauce at home. So the fermentation chamber is actually the second project that I've tackled in my journey to making soy sauce. Last week I released a video that was talking about making a kioke, which is a cedar bucket that tries to emulate how soy sauce is traditionally made in Japan. And if you watch that video, you probably learned how to make a kioke, but didn't see me make a successful kioke that'll hold the recipe. So I actually this week got in the shop and had a chance to work on making my third kioke. And if you really want to know what happened with that, you can go to the end of the video where I've included an update about kiokes. Okay, so before I give you a tour of my fermentation chamber, I want to talk a little bit about why do I need a fermentation chamber, because that'll help you understand what you're looking at, I think. So when you make soy sauce, you start off by inoculating toasted wheat with a fungus called Aspergillus oryzae. And once it has inoculated that wheat, it's called koji. Now that koji helps break down the soybeans later on in the process, which creates the flavors that we know as soy sauce. Now this is why we need the fermentation chamber. Koji is like your grandma who moved to Florida. It likes it really hot and it likes it really humid. We're talking like it needs 86 degrees and it needs like 75% humidity. It's demanding. So because of these specific climate requirements for koji, we need to create a chamber that can hold constant humidity and temperature levels in order to keep the koji happy, so that way we can get predictable results when we make our soy sauce later on. Now I got introduced to making soy sauce and the process and equipment needed by this book from the fine folks at Noma. It's called the Noma Guide to Fermentation. And in there, they kind of outline some of the different ways you can go about creating a fermentation chamber. In order to actually get the space to contain the heat and the humidity, they recommend a restaurant speed rack with one of the vinyl covers that you can see, and it's used in catering a lot. Now, when I was looking up even used one of those, it was about $100 for the rack, and I'm trying to save money because I'm making all this equipment to make soy sauce. So I ended up finding this little garden seed starter shed thing on Amazon for 30 bucks. And it was super easy to set up. It didn't even require any tools. Now, in order to set a specific temperature and humidity level and have that be maintained, I have these control boxes made by Inkbird for humidity and temperature. You plug in a heater or a humidifier into them, and then you set your desired climate, and it does the rest for you. Now you may notice on my climate control panel over there, I've got two sets of each of the temperature and the humidity controller. And that's because I'm going to be making a cheese/meat curing cave as well as having a hot fermentation chamber. So I'll have more on what's going on with the meat and cheese cave later on. Right now I'm just trying to focus on the soy sauce project. So inside the fermentation chamber, I have the temperature and humidity probes zip tied near the middle and the top. So I figure that's where a lot of the heat and the humidity is going to accumulate in there. And then I have a little USB fan that it barely does anything, but it's just enough to move the air around in there. I didn't want anything too powerful. Now down below, I have a cheap little humidifier and heater setup, and they're really basic, so that way they can kick on and off with the controllers that I'm using. And if you're curious about buying the exact stuff I have, I'll have links down below to everything, and they're usually super cheap items off of Amazon, so you should be able to find it pretty easy. And just to note, none of it's affiliate links. I actually tried having an Amazon affiliate link for a while, and then nobody clicked anything, so Amazon booted me. So enjoy clicking on all these things, and I don't get any revenue from it. Now, if you buy that specific humidifier, it requires like a large water bottle size. So that Aquafina large bottle worked. I don't know. You'll have to experiment and see if there's other water bottles that you find that fit that thing. But it took me a couple tries before I found a water bottle that actually fit that. Okay, if you're dying to know what happened to the third kioke, I'm gonna just roll some footage right now for what happened when I was in the shop the other day. Okay, I just finished assembling this kioke, and as you probably saw, I didn't really have a huge reaction because I wasn't ready to feel like I was done yet. I felt like I had to swell the bucket first to see if I would know whether or not this actually turned out. And normally to swell, I got to leave it overnight, and that'll tell you whether or not you're getting into watertight territory. But I'm happy to say I just went and filled this bucket with some hot water and let it sit for about a half an hour. And now when I hold it up to the light, I don't see any light leaks in there. I think this puppy is going to work. It's perfect. The only thing left to do is to actually see if it'll hold the quantity of water I need. Let's do that before we have a celebratory beverage. So this bucket has 10 liters in it. I only need this to hold 8. See what happens. Sloppy. I think it holds 9. Here we are. Now it's time for the celebratory drink. I made a functional kioke, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be awesome. I cannot wait to make soy sauce in this thing. This feels good. All right, thank you for joining me as I talked about my new fermentation chamber setup. I'm super excited. This thing is awesome, and I think it's gonna work out great. If you have any ideas about how I can make this better, or if there's anything I'm missing that might come to bite me in the butt later on, let me know. I'd love to learn. And if you have any questions about anything I've set up that I didn't really cover in the video, or you wanna see where I got something else, let me know. I'd be happy to share with you. All right, so I'm on to my next soy sauce related project. I think that's gonna be making koji trays that are gonna be made out of cedar that I was waiting till I had the fermentation chamber set up so that way I could make sure they were the right size. So I made them too big. I was afraid they wouldn't fit on the shelf or they'd block airflow. So now I kind of have a better idea what size they need to be. I can get cranking on that project. All right, see you next time. Cheers.